Hello, 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 everyone. What is going on? James here. And welcome back to the Banterous Hour with me, Scott, Blue Falcon.
Hello.
And today we're here to discuss two pretty banging good films.
Yep.
The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Hercules. So we might as well start off with Hercules as that's the weaker of the two, but it's still a good laugh.
Yeah. Right. So, Hercules. This Disney movie obviously is following the story of the Greek hero Hercules. You know, who is the son of Zeus and a demigod. And it
Yeah,
has
man.
kind of like a Las Vegas vibe to it with the way it is done.
Yeah, because it starts off with the narrator going like, "Long ago in a faraway land of ancient Greece, la di da di da, here we have
Yeah.
Hercules," and then the ladies come in and go, "Shut up, let us take over," and then they're having all their sass and fun and they're singing, and it shows this isn't just another bloody, strong hero, stone face, cold hero story. This is like a proper banterous fun tale.
Yeah. We also of course have fucking is it Kevin Bacon who does Hades or something like
Nah,
that?
James Woods.
James Wood, that's it. Don't know where he got Kevin Bacon from.
It
Yeah,
would be
James
pretty funny
Woods
hearing
does
him,
Hades, and
hearing
we've got
Kevin
Danny
Bacon say
DeVito as
those lines.
Phil. So already we've got a pretty good lineup here for some fun.
Yeah, man. Woods plays a villain pretty apart from Recess School's Out, but that wasn't his fault. That was the writing's fault. He usually plays a pretty good villain or
Yeah,
anti-hero because he was more of an anti-hero in the in Once Upon a Time in America. I don't know if you've seen that one. And
I haven't.
in Casino, he just plays a bit of a bum. But yeah, when you look up the film, he's the first one to show up, and then Susan Egan or Egan comes up as
Yeah,
Meg, and then you've got Tate Donovan. Hercules. I didn't know Danny DeVito was Phil. Damn, he did a pretty good job at that. I'm not usually a fan of Danny DeVito. Bloody
mm,
hell, fair play to him. He did a very good job there, voicing
yeah,
Phil. But yeah, we start off with all the gods having a laugh at a party, and Zeus is like, "My little son Hercules, look at how tiny he is. Oh yes, yes, he's a good lad. What a lovely baby." Then obviously Hades comes in and says, "Oh, hello, how's it going?" And then he tries to give Hercules this rattle with spikes on it, and he just grabs his finger straight away. Hercules does, so we
yeah,
know how strong this dude is, man. He's an absolute unit. And then, and we know Hades is bad, obviously, because of the way he looks and how he's not having a good time like the gods are. And he says, "Come on, join the celebration, Hades." And he's like, "Well, the thing is, I've got a big gig going on, looking after the underworld, and you've given me that job." And he's like, "Oh, come on, you're gonna work yourself to death." Ha ha! I kill myself. And then he says, "Oh, if only." So we know Hades has a serious master plan on his hands. He wants to do everyone
yeah,
in.
yeah. Which again, you can kind of feel for it because I said he's put in charge of running the underworld, and Zeus makes jokes about it all the time.
Yeah, you do understand why he's pissed off. And
Yeah,
as I say, I'm never rooting for Hades because he's obviously an evil dude. But you get why he's annoyed. Like, he's not some dude who is just evil for the sake of it. He hates his job, and he wants to get
yeah,
everyone back.
yeah. I mean, you could argue he's evil for the sake of it.
I guess he does
But
do some antagonizing stuff, and
yeah,
he's a bit of a dick. But I guess he's got to be entertaining, hasn't he? So he's
yeah.
got to make everybody laugh.
Yeah. So the party is to celebrate the birth of Zeus's son Hercules,
Hmm.
and obviously this film isn't obviously super accurate to the mythology.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. For example, if you know the actual mythology, Hades is actually the most chill of the big three.
Oh, is he really? I didn't know.
Yeah. Zeus and Poseidon are in actual mythology are both super unhinged,
Oh, okay, that's a bit of a
but
shame.
Hades is actually really chill.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to try to piss Hades off in the actual mythology.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah, but I think it's just one of those things of oh, it's god of the underworld, must be evil,
Instantly, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got an awful bloody job, but at the end of the day, he's just doing his job like everyone else. So
Yeah. Yeah. Then again, in actual Greek mythology, Zeus sleeps with literally anything that moves.
oh, so he's quite a horny bloke.
Yeah. Basically, Greek mythology can be summed up as in like one phrase, and that is, and then Zeus got horny.
Oh, okay.
The
I,
man
I didn't
literally,
know.
yeah, it comes down to how much you know about like Greek mythology and that.
But yeah, so afterwards, he gets told by these witches or these fortune teller ladies, like, yes, you will take over absolutely everything, Hades. You will be the man, but then Hercules will stop you. And he's like, "Arr!"
Yeah,
So then he
the
matches,
fates who can see like the future, the past, and the present.
yeah, and then he gets his little minion blokes. I can't remember what is it, Pain and
Pain and Panic, yeah,
that's it.
who are
Yeah,
basically just there as your standard like comic relief slapstick characters.
yeah, they're
Who
not
their whole
really.
purpose is to get hurt.
Yeah, they're not good on
Through and
their
through.
own. However, it's Hades' reaction to their antics, which is really funny.
Yeah,
I like that quite a lot.
yeah. So Hades, like realizing that his plan to like rule the cosmos and dethrone Zeus will fail if Hercules fights,
Hmm.
decides to try and get rid of Hercules using Pain and Panic to give
Yeah,
them, he basically gives them a formula that should turn a god mortal if they drink it all, and basically tells them to give it to Hercules and then off the brat.
yeah,
So that leads to Pain and Panic kidnapping Hercules from Mount Olympus and taking him down to the mortal world to feed him the formula.
and it's pretty funny that that they fail that one, and I like their line of "You mean if he finds out about this?"
Yeah, they do that a
That's
lot as well.
pretty
It's like,
funny.
oh, what's that? I'll be right back.
I
Just
mean,
keep going.
yeah, I was gonna say, while I have the floor, it is quite funny that Hades is pissed off at his job and wants to do something else and rule the world and probably half-arses being in charge of the underworld, but then Pain and Panic are both like half-arsing their jobs as well. So it's just a funny long chain. And he's like, that they just want to do things as easy as possible. They don't want to have to deal with loads of stress and hassle. But it is quite funny. As I say, Hades' reaction to all of their stuff. But yeah, I mean, with Hercules, he ends up being a complete freak among everyone else. That's what they call him. He's just ridiculously strong, and they don't want to play like frisbee with him or any sports with him like the other people there because he'll just win easily. Whenever he touches something or moves really quickly, he ends up wrecking the whole joint. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really that good for him. So in the end, he realizes that he needs to try and go somewhere else, and then we get a little bit of a okay song, when Hercules. I like the bits where Hercules saying about how he can go the distance. It's not just about being good in the moment; it's about over a long period of time going the distance. That's the way I interpret that. And then he ends up finding, he finds his dad first. As a big rock stone bloke, as a big statue. And Zeus is like, you need to become a true hero to get access to join the gods again. And he's like, all right, then, well, I'll go and become a true hero. And I'm pretty sure Zeus recommends him to go to find Phil. Yeah, Zeus recommends him to do it because otherwise, how would have Hercules found out about him in the first place? And Phil's like, no, I ain't doing it. No, I have to train all these other heroes. No, I'm not doing this one. No. And then in the end, he mocks Hercules, saying, "Your dad, the big guy Zeus," and then he gets hit with lightning. So that's pretty funny. So in the end, he trains him. We get an interesting, fun song with those two. And Phil's obviously going on his own arc of obviously Hercules wants to become a hero and get to live with his parents again. But Phil actually wants a successful hero, while all the other heroes he's trained, like Achilles with his heel, and I can't remember the other names. But yeah, a lot of eases or whatever they're called, Achilles, something ease, and a lot of eases. But yeah, he trains him, and then we get to see Hercules throw down with his first boss battle, and it's this bizarre Minotaur type looking thing who
All right,
is
I'm back.
oh Sorry, hold on. I've got to go for a second. Sorry about this.
Okay.
If you want to
Oh,
take the
whereabouts
floor.
were we? So I can take over.
Yeah.
Right. Would have been helpful if I was told where he was, so that way I can continue on. I guess I'll just chill here with you lot for a second.
I had to get a parcel. I am back.
Welcome back. I didn't know where you left off, so I just just been sat here waiting.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I was talking
I
about
did
when he
ask
first
mention
bought
where you were, so I could keep going, but I don't think you heard.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
No worries.
he. I was just talking about how Hercules was considered a freak, so he goes to Zeus, sings a song about going the distance. Phil says, "I'm not training him. I'm not training him." And Phil is on his own arc because he wants
Ah,
to have
right.
someone who they say,
Yeah, so
that's
obviously,
Phil's boy.
due to Phil, like not Phil, due to Hercules' like insane strength from not drinking all of the potion, he kind of stands out as like a bit like frowned upon by the people because obviously he has this freakish strength that they can't explain and he can't control.
Yeah.
Which leads to him occasionally destroying the nearby shopping mall every now and then on accident.
Completely totaling the place.
Yeah. So, trying to figure out why he's so different, his parents reveal to him the emblem of Zeus that was around his neck when they found him. And that. So, deciding that maybe Zeus has answers, he goes and seeks out Zeus's temple. Right.
Oh, yeah, and then Zeus comes to
Yeah.
life and says,
Which the statue of Zeus comes to life and, like, just like, my boy.
mhm.
And tells Hercules that, like, Hercules is his son and was born a god, but when he was still a baby, someone stole him from Olympus and made him mortal, and only gods can step foot on Olympus. And tells is that if Hercules proves himself a true hero, his godhood would be restored and he'd be allowed back on Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
So to start his hero training, Zeus tells him to seek out Phil, a Satyr, I believe they're called, Satyr, yeah, who is known for training some of the various heroes across Greek history, and of course including Achilles. There's another famous character, in Greek, mythology.
With his bum heel.
Yeah. I think, don't you know the whole story about Achilles' heel?
No, not the exact story, no.
So the story is, as a baby, Achilles' body was dipped in the river Styx, making him impervious to all damage, right?
Yeah.
However, he was held by his heel in order to dip him in, so his heel wasn't put in the river Styx.
Oh, okay.
So his heel is the only part of his body not impervious to damage.
Interesting.
Which is where the Achilles heel comes from.
Yeah,
it's because it was Achilles' literal only weak point.
Nice bit of trivia.
Yeah. I know a decent bit about mythology.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. For example, during the montage of Hercules proving himself a hero, it's actually a montage of his 12 labors from the story of Hercules.
Damn.
And what's funny about that is the last labor is him taming Cerberus, which, if you know the ending, is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, they find Phil, and Hercules eventually convinces Phil, with a little bit of help from Zeus, in the form of a lightning bolt, to train him. So we get a brief training montage with Danny DeVito singing.
Yeah. You need an advisor, a satyr but wiser,
a satyr but
good
wiser.
Merchandiser. Yeah. There goes my ulcer. You're not exactly a dream come true.
But so we have a montage of Hercules transitioning from a skinny boy to actual hero, like buff boy.
Yeah.
And then they start making their way to Thebes, I think, to start his hero work. But on the way, he hears a woman scream and goes to help because, damsel in distress thing.
Yeah.
And this is where we get introduced to Meg.
Yeah, she's a pretty alright character.
She goes standard DID, damsel in distress.
She goes on her own arc, she sold her soul to save her boyfriend at the time, and then he goes off, in Hades' words, he goes off with some babe, and you're you're left behind heartbroken. So
Meg's story is kind of a sad one. You think about it.
Yeah.
She literally sold her soul to Hades to
save his life,
save a loved one, and they repay it by abandoning her to go with someone else.
Yeah, what a sleazebag that geezer is or was.
Yeah, indeed.
So you know why Meg's a little bit like the way she is, because she got...
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. So the reason Meg was screaming there is she was there trying to convince the Water Guardian, who is a large centaur, to join Hades' army. And
we wanted some
boom. Guess. Yeah, he as she says, he made an offer I had to refuse. So we can only guess what he wanted.
Mm-hmm. I mean, why does he expect a regular human to want to shag a gigantic horse? I don't get it.
I mean, horses are hung, man.
Oh yeah. Maybe there will be some ladies in the in the Hercules universe who might want a bit of fun with that giant horse. It's funny how he actually dies though, because he ends up falling in the water, and you don't see him getting out of the water.
Yeah, he gets knocked out, and he lands face down in the water. It's like, oh, he is definitely drowning.
Yeah, and Hercules isn't like, he's knocked out, let's get him back on the land and just leave him there. No,
they knock his ass out and leave him face down in the lake.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty evil guy, but you think for a Disney film, I don't know.
Yeah, for the heroes, you think they would try and like save him still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, they go to Thebes, a town that is just riddled with problems all the time.
It's not like New York. Da, da, da,
Yeah,
da,
it's
da. You know, all
basically.
I'm
the,
walking
movie
here,
New-
and all that
yeah,
stuff.
it's basically New York.
Mhm.
It's just it's basically just New York in every
Yeah.
way.
Hold on, I just want to go over this scene quickly.
Yeah.
Because a scene happens not too long after this where she explains to Hades, it wasn't my fault. It was that wonder boy Hercules. Hercules. Why does that name ring a bell? And then Payne says, I don't know. Maybe
we
we
owe
owe
him
him
money?
money.
And then it
what
dawns on
was that?
him, Panic.
What was
Right.
that name again? Hercules. He comes with a big innocent farm boy routine, but I could see right through it in a I can't read the word Peloponnesian minute. I can't read it. Wait a minute, wasn't Hercules the name of the kid we were supposed to? Oh my God! Run
Yeah.
for it! He says, "So
Yeah.
you took care of him, dead as a doornail. Weren't those your exact words?"
Did he use his exact words exactly? Like, maybe it's a different Hercules. Remember a few years ago when everyone was named Jason and Jenny?
Yeah, Vance.
Yeah.
And then
And it's like,
I'm about to
yeah.
rearrange the cosmos, and this Shamil who can loose lousy or Louise. It says who can Louo louse it up, waltzing around in the woods, and then he blows everything up and destroys all
Yeah.
the woods. But yeah, and then after that,
just as Hades does.
they're in the town and they're all saying, "Oh man, this. Who are you? Who are you? We've had too many heroes and they've all been useless." But then Phil's like, "This guy's the real deal." And then they piss off Phil by saying, "Hold on, you've got a load of shit heroes you have." And then Phil bloody rushes them and beats the shit out of one bloke. He's like, "Hold on, these are the people you're meant to be protecting." You mentalist, but he's quite funny.
Yeah.
He's a bit of an angry little goat, isn't he? Because he's like, I got your heel right here. I'll wipe the stupid grin off your face, you. So technically, Hercules saves one person from Phil, which was pretty funny. But then we get an actual monster that Hercules has to fight, a dragon.
Yes.
And
Meg comes in saying that some children are trapped under some rubble. And obviously, this is a trap set by Hades. So Hercules goes and saves the two kids who are revealed to be Pain and Panic shapeshift. Did. And while, Hercules is I guess, showing off to the crowd that he could, look how strong I am, because he picks up the giant boulder that the kids were trapped under.
And he gets
the Hydra comes out, which, again, going off to what I said earlier, if you know the story of Hercules, the Hydra is actually one of his 12 labors that he had to do to get his godhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. I like all the fake outs in it because, he gets eaten, swallowed, and the dragon burps, and you think, well, whatever it's called, burps, the Hydra. And then you're like, damn, shit, the character's actually been eaten. But then obviously they wait a few seconds, you see him moving around in the Hydra's throat, bam, knife, and everyone's like, yeah. But then 3 heads come up, and you're like, oh no. And then Hercules gets on Pegasus and then starts bloody slicing the dragon's heads, and then more heads come, and you're like, how's he even going to overcome this? And then you get another fake out when he's held against the wall and all the dragon heads are about to eat him. He goes bang against the cliff, and then all the rocks fall on Hercules and the dragons. And then in the dragon's hand, Hercules comes out and he's alive, and you're like, damn, that's some great fake outs there, I think.
Yeah, they do a chain of fake outs. Yeah, it's it seems like Hercules has been eaten, then he cuts off the Hydra's head to get out. You think the Hydra's dead, and then it sprouts its more heads, and then it just keeps sprouting more heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that,
after that, Hercules is actually seen as a hero by the people of Thebes. And then we get another montage, which is the Hero to Zero song.
I love that. That's the best song of the film.
Yeah. And during that montage, we get basically, so all the various monsters you see Hercules fight throughout the montage are actually references to his 12 labors. Throughout it, which is just cool.
Yeah, man. But I love the whole zero to hero stuff because the thing is, Hercules' journey, it's earned, he's not, although he's strong, he doesn't know how to use his strength at first, you know what I'm saying? He gets trained
Yeah.
by Phil, he struggles, he bounces back, he struggles again, and then he's a sick hero and everyone's rating him, you know what I'm saying? So it's a nice, interesting journey for him to go on, and the song is an absolute bop. I love the bit when it finally drops to, who puts the glad in gladiator, Hercules, whose darling deeds make great, a great theater,
Yeah.
Hercules. That bit's an absolute. And Hades getting really angry. That's quite funny. I love the bit where Pain and Panic have his Hercules merchandise on.
Yeah, they're wearing Jesus merch.
Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the bit when they, from all appearance, free royalties. He could tell. Oh well, I'm looking at the song bit still. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, here we go. Hades says, "I can't believe this guy. I throw everything at him. I throw everything I've got at him, and he doesn't even." And then he sees him wearing the trademark sandals. He's like, "What are those?" And he's like,
"Yeah, the air Hercs."
I thought they'd look kind of dashing. I've got 24 hours to get rid of this bozo. Oh, this entire scheme I've been setting up for 18 years goes up in smoke, and you're wearing his merchandise. And then Panic goes.
Yeah, just when he's about to like brutally maim Pain, they hear a sipping noise like obviously Panic drinking the like sports drink.
Yeah, and then he goes ah and blows everything up.
Yeah, which is funny.
And Meg seems to be a bit, I don't know, like warming up to Hercules a little bit. Like she's like, "Look, it's game over.
Yeah.
Wonder Boy's hitting every curve you throw at him."
And perhaps I haven't thrown the right curve at him, Meg, my sweet.
Yeah, which would work a bit better if Meg was a bit more thick and curvy, but it still works pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, she kind of is. She definitely has hourglass.
Yeah. But, yeah, everyone's going mad for Hercules. All the geezers are clapping him on. All the ladies are trying to climb over his gates. They're all big fans of him. And I like the scene as well. We get a scar on Hercules' head, which is pretty funny. Like, Scar is basically a rug, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, you get like a little reference to Scar, yeah.
Yeah, because Zazu in The Lion King says, "I think he'd make a good throw rug." And he's like, "Zazu." And he's like, "Think about it. Whenever you get angry, you can just beat him up a bit." So that was pretty funny. Something along those lines, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got a little reference to Scar there. Also, we have a bit where Hercules is telling his dad about like his exploits as a hero.
Yeah.
And
that was very good. Because he's like,
"You
need to do more to be a true hero, son. At the end of the day, just having
I think what I like
name
about this is Zeus tells like what he's doing is hero work, but he's not. But he's kind of losing the plot of what it means to actually be a true hero.
Yeah, exactly.
He's kind of doing it mostly for the fame at this at that point.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was. To like get back and live with the gods, but then as soon as he beats his first bloody foe, he's loving all the clout and fame, and he's living in a big mansion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he starts doing hero work for the fame and glory more so than the actual being a hero.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the scene of like Hercules getting a mural painted himself wearing Scar. While Phil's going for his schedule, and Hercules just kind of loses. Like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Hercules only
girls break in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we got to give Herc a bit of slack. He's only 18, and to be honest, I always thought he was older. But to be honest, as well, you do feel like kind of, I don't know, like he'd been treated like crap his whole life, never really accepted by anyone apart from his Earth parents and his real parents up in their god world. The thing is, like, you kind of understand him going this mad because he hasn't had any positive like feedback off anyone for bloody forever,
Yeah, and then suddenly he's got some here. Yeah. So we have like a little talk between Phil and Hercules for a bit, and then some fangirls break in.
Mm-hmm.
Which causes Hercules to hide and Phil to like trick them to leave. And then Meg appears and her and Hercules go out.
Yeah, I mean, she's really I don't know. I was going to say the lady equivalent of Riz, but she's got a lot of. I think Riz can be from either gender, can't it? So yeah, she's got a lot of Riz.
Yeah,
to her.
Riz is either gender.
Yeah, she's got loads of Riz. You know, she's really flirting with Hercules, but obviously that's part of her gig to try and get free from Hades. And then as she's having a laugh with him, she realizes, damn, this geezer's actually quite a sound bloke. You know, he seems like quite a good person. I don't want to.
She realizes he's kind of genuine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on top of the flag, she's also trying to see if he had get him to admit if he has any weaknesses that Hades could then exploit later. Because if you look at the question she asked like stuff like, "Do you have like weak ankles and stuff like?" But she's trying to get him to admit to a weakness that she can give to Hades later as well.
Very true.
So they have their date and moment, and then Phil and Pegasus show up and ruin it.
They're all quite salty, yeah, they're quite angry. But then the funny thing is, obviously, although Phil's having a go at Hercules for being a little bit horny, at the end of the day, Phil was horny. Phil was being a complete degenerate at the
Phil
start.
Is beyond horny.
that
man is always horny.
Yeah, hassling those 3 women at the start and then waffling on about
Amazonians. The first scene we have of Phil, he's spying on this 3 nymphs.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're called.
And then he's trying to get with Meg at first. He sits on a lap and goes, "Oh yeah, look at me, darling," and slicks his hair back. I'm all real too. So he can't bloody wave his finger in Hercules' face with how he's behaved.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I think this is filmed in a decent way, for a misunderstanding. It wasn't just done for the sake of it. Phil hits his head on a branch, and then he catches the last bit of a conversation,
between
saying,
Hades and Meg.
Yeah, so that was a good way to film the misunderstanding, rather than Phil just sneaking back to see what happened. He stumbles and bumbles till he gets to the end of the conversation because he was knocked out prior by the branch.
Yeah.
And then their misunderstanding, Hercules and Phil's misunderstanding, was quite sad as well, and he's like, he's having a laugh because he's in love and he's enjoying himself and all this stuff. And then he goes, "She's a fraud!" And then Hercules is like, "No, she's not. No. It's like a no good lying scheming. Shut up!" And then he
Hercules actually hits Phil.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course, by all this point, Hades has already figured out that Meg is Hercules' weak point.
Yeah, exactly. Complete weak point in it for Hercules.
Yeah.
And that's why he ends up signing all his powers away for 24 hours. And Hades gets
so Hades captures Meg on knowing that this is part of she's not actually captured, but Hercules doesn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And Hades makes Hercules agree to a deal that he gives up his powers for 24 hours on the condition Meg nothing would happen to Meg.
Yeah.
And then they reveal that, oh, by the way, she's working for us.
Yeah, that was pretty big kick in the balls for Herc.
Yeah. And which after this, Hades goes and frees the Titans. Which again, the Titans are also a nod to Greek mythology as well. Which I mean, you should expect considering the movie is Hercules, but it's cool to see the little nods like when you know them here and there.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. Obviously, the actual Titans are different to the ones in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's I know it's supposed to be a very Hercules, but this is also just turning into me giving random bits of Greek mythology lore here as well.
Yeah, you might as well. I don't know anything about Greek stuff, so far away.
So, the Titans were actually the race before the gods, so they're the next level up.
Now, is Attack on Titan a bit like that then? Because there's giants in that show, isn't there? There's meant to be.
Now, I think Titans are just refer to something that's often giant.
Oh, okay.
At least in the context of Attack on Titan. But for example, in Greek mythology, the Titans are basically the gods before the gods.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we have Yeah, so the Titans used to rule things, and that's also partly why the Titans seem to completely obliterate Olympus when they get there in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Zeus. So funny if do you know why Zeus is the leader of the gods?
Nah, did he just take it by force?
Kind of. So Zeus is the one that led the war against the Titans and liberated like the gods, basically. So they elected him as their king. So basically, the Titan Kronos, who is basically the leader of the Titans, right, had 3 children, and he ate all 3 of them, or supposedly ate all 3. And those were Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus, right? But but Zeus's mother hid Zeus from Kronos and fed him and gave him like rocks wrapped in cloth instead, which Kronos thought was Zeus and ate that. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Zeus grew up and then like went to challenge Kronos and cut open Kronos' stomach to free Poseidon and Hades. And then the 3 of them together like led an uprising of the gods against the Titans, which led to the Titans being banished and like imprisoned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Titans are like in Greek mythology, the Titans are pretty freaking powerful if you know anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's the Titan Atlas, who in his imprisonment is given the task of holding up all of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a ball ache.
Yeah.
I like the bit when Hercules gets all his power took away. I like
Yeah.
how he's slowly proving to actually be a real hero who wants to do the right thing anyway, because he takes on that big fat Cyclops one and ends up killing him as well, which is pretty impressive.
So the Cyclops is said to kill Hercules while the other 4 Titans make their way up to Olympus.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, Hercules is obviously tries to fight the Cyclops, but he doesn't have his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cyclops is kind of just manhandling the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
But Hercules manages to beat the Cyclops through intelligence, funny enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he grabs a piece of, I think it's like a torch or a piece of burning rubble, and when the Cyclops brings him close to bite his head off, he flings it into the Cyclops' eye.
Yeah.
Like, hurting him, and then he runs a rope around the Cyclops' feet to cause it to fall over. Yeah. And it, like, falls off a cliff.
But because of him falling off the cliff, the big, what's it called?
Yeah, a big pillar starts to fall over from the impact. And Meg pushes Hercules out of the way of the pillar, gets crushed under it. And because Meg got hurt, which, as you remember Hades' deal, he promised that no harm would come to Meg.
Yeah.
Because Meg got harmed, Hercules' powers came back.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a quick goodbye talk, and then Hercules hops on Pegasus to go to Mount Olympus to stop Hades' plan. At this point, the Titans have basically overthrown Olympus. Like, the gods are getting imprisoned. Zeus is being sealed away. Then Hercules appears and breaks and frees the gods, including Zeus, and then they manage to beat back the Titans.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. After which, Hades retreats back to the underworld.
Yeah, because he's
and then while Hades is kind of seething over the fact his plan failed again.
Yeah, but you just rub it in Hercules' face that he has Meg's soul. But then this is when Hercules proves to be a true hero. He's like, all right, I get Meg out. You can keep me instead. He's like, all right then, but you're not even going to get her out anyway. But that's the deal. He goes down there, and you're like, damn, his skin's going. He's becoming an old man. It's like he's about to die. And then the fates
also,
are
Hercules breaks into Hades' home riding Cerberus, which, if you remember, is the 12th Labour.
Oh, yeah, Yeah, the three big dogs, isn't it?
Yeah, the three-headed
Oh, the
dog. Yeah,
headed dog, yeah. And they
yeah.
try and cut
And
the rope, and you're
that
like,
scene's cool because I said that's Hercules' final labor, and if you know the story of Hercules, that's the point where he gets his divinity in the story.
oh, cool.
Yeah,
But
so Hercules breaks in riding Cerberus and strikes a deal with Hades from Meg's soul,
oh yeah.
which Hades agrees to.
But I
But he
like
was
the
like,
bit.
you'll probably be dead before you can reach her, but go for it.
But I like how
But
he
in
becomes God
Hercules'
in that
willingness
moment.
to completely sacrifice himself for someone else, he's proven himself a true hero, and his godhood comes back, allowing him to survive the death pit.
And then he just uppercuts Hades, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, he climbs out of the pit with Meg's soul, and Hades tried to strike another bargain. Hercules just uppercuts him into it.
Yeah, it's just so funny when he's like, "Help! Help! I don't feel so good. Help! Get your souls off me! Taxi! Taxi!" And then,
Yeah,
were there any
yeah.
taxis in the Greek times?
No, there were carriages, I guess.
Oh yeah. But
But
then, you mean if he gets out of there? That was pretty funny.
yeah, Pain and Panic being Pain and Panic again.
Moral of the story: if you treat your workers or minions like shit, they're not going to come in and save you. So
Yeah,
maybe if he'd been a bit nice to them, maybe they would have tried to throw a rope down. But
yep,
instead, he there you go. When they have
yep,
their moment, even though they fear him, they leave him to die. And then
yep.
Hercules goes back, and Zeus is like, "Well done, Sean." And then he's like, "A life without Meg isn't a life at all," you know. And then he stays
Yeah,
on Earth.
basically,
So that's the
he
fun
has the
arc.
ability to return to Olympus, be with his parents, and be a god, and he gives it up to go back to be with Meg.
Yeah, so that's a nice
He,
arc.
it is, yeah.
But I just wonder, what so do all the souls just go to this like depressing state? There's no heaven or hell. It's just you go to the whirlpool of souls if you're not a god.
Basically, yeah.
That sounds a bit awful. So
Yeah,
you
Greek
just
mythology doesn't have a heaven or hell. It just has, if you die, your soul just goes to the underworld. But
so
the underworld
basically
in Greek mythology isn't a super terrible place. It's just where the souls are kept.
that's horrible.
The movie makes it seem more depressing than it probably actually is.
It's just sad that all the gods in Greek mythology get to live it up and have a laugh. But that makes it even more powerful that Hercules decided to stay mortal. You know,
Yeah.
he'd rather end up being some soul in the underworld swirling round eventually and have a life with Meg rather than being immortal.
It's probably a good thing the gods in the Hercules movie aren't like the ones in actual Greek mythology, because the gods in the actual Greek mythology are petty as fuck.
Do you reckon they would have gone mad then at Hercules for not wanting to live with him? Do you reckon Zeus would have gone, "What the fuck, son, you twat!" and then started firing lightning bolts at Meg?
Well, yeah. Well, considering Poseidon often gets pissed off and causes mass extinction events in Greek mythology on a regular basis, probably.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
so they are the gods in Greek mythology, the actual mythology, are super fucking petty, and they get pissed off really easily. With the only exception being Hades, who is surprisingly the most chill of them.
But yeah, before we move on to Hunchback, I just want to quickly say I didn't enjoy this film as much as I did as a kid. However, I still enjoyed it quite a bit. Decent characters, decent story, good fun, pretty good animation. Just a nice little take on like a serious Greek tale, I suppose, but it's like a nice Disney-fied version. Hades was the best part of the film. Hercules is okay as a character. Zeus is okay. Meg's arc's pretty good. The arcs are all good. Like everyone's arc is good, but I don't think any of them are really exceptional characters apart from like Hades. I think he's hilarious. He's the best character. He's so funny.
Hades is the highlight of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, I'll give the film like 7.5 out of 10. Very good. Enjoyed it, but nothing special. Just a very good film. Good Disney film.
It's definitely not among Disney's best, but it's far from their worst.
Yeah, for sure. A lot better than what they came out with in the 2000s with bloody Home on the Range and Brother Bear.
Yeah.
You're the biggest cow I've ever seen. Oh, I better take that as a compliment then. Or if not, I'll sit on you.
I think Yeah, I think what she says there is like, if you're the guy in charge, I'll take that as a compliment. If not, I guess I'll sit on you.
Yeah, that created a lot of furries right there.
Like, yeah, now the real ones behind the fucking furry stuff is probably Rare from the Rare games.
Oh yeah,
They're probably a lead cause of that.
all Gloria's big fat arse shaking round in Madagascar. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, what the hell was I going to say? Oh yeah, what would you give it out of 10 then?
Hercules, I'd give it a solid 6 or a 7. Like I said, it's far from Disney's best, but it's definitely far from their worst. It's a good middle ground.
Fair
It has
enough.
some enjoyable moments, but it is a movie that is entirely carried by its villain. If Hades wasn't present doing Hades things and didn't have the personality he did, I do feel the film would have been as enjoyable. It would have just been your standard coming of age like hero story.
Yeah, it would have just been, I don't know.
Yeah,
it would have
Herc
been
is
average.
nice enough as a hero, but he's just your standard good guy hero.
Yeah.
Nothing really super fleshed out in his character, really.
Mm-hmm. But now we move on to. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's all we have to say. Go watch Hunchback. See you later.
Yep, that's all we have to say. Just go watch it.
So this film, I was telling Scott before the podcast, I didn't like it much as a kid. Well, I didn't dislike it. I thought it was all right. I thought it was pretty decent. But like as an adult, I think it's great.
It's one of those movies that as a kid it's kind of passable, but as an adult you're able to understand all the stuff going on. It is a fucking dark masterpiece.
Yeah, because whenever this was on Disney Cinemagic when I was a kid, I just thought to myself like, it's all right, but it's a bit too sad for me. I don't like looking at Hunchback. I feel sorry for him. Oh, yeah. He doesn't get with Esmeralda in the end. Well, what's the point of the film? Oh,
yeah,
but it was still decent. But now as an adult, I think, damn, this is great. So yeah, but the main issue, the only issue I have with the film, which stops it from being one of the best Disney films, it's still great, but the thing that holds it back a little bit is just the whole trying to make stuff for kids and then trying to make stuff for adults.
The movie can't fully commit to being a dark masterpiece because they have to still cater to kids to some degree.
Because we don't have any. I was going to say though, we don't have any cool music at the start, the old Disney logo. It's like bomb, 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 and then we see a Notre Dame, oh, 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 but then you got a little bloke with a puppet going, "You silly boy, ooh," and I'm like,
the jester Clofo, who is the narrator for the movie.
I thought, but at least he doesn't narrate too
to
much.
be fair, in Clofo's defense, there he is telling the story to those kids in front of the thing. Yeah. So you could argue the entire movie is him telling the tale of the Hunchback.
I know, but I'd rather them just not have him being silly. I liked him when he was doing his whole topsy turvy day stuff.
Yeah,
and him being in the traveller hideout. I like that bit. But apart from that, I wish he wasn't narrator. I wish it was just, I don't know, shown like Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then we have the story play out.
But that's actually how the original story and musical plays for Hunchback go. Is he's the narrator.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, I would change it if I was the Donnie of that.
Which is fair. So obviously, the movie starts out with a pretty epic choir building up as it goes towards the bell tower, and of course leads into the jester Clofo, who's the narrator for the story. And I don't know, if it's definitely Bells of Notre Dame is what it's called, and it's a very epic orchestral piece to start the film with, where as Clofo tells the story of how the Hunchback came to be, starting with some gypsies trying to sneak into Paris.
Yeah.
But as they arrive, a trap was waiting for them, and we get introduced to Disney's best villain, Disney's darkest villain, and probably Disney's most evil villain, Judge Claude Frollo.
Yeah, the goat.
Now, obviously, Frollo is not Disney's most powerful villain. Like, they fucking have fucking what's his name, Chernabog, for example, who is basically Satan in Disneyverse.
What's he from? The Black Cauldron or something?
Chernabog is from Fantasia.
Oh, is he that big thing with the
big
orange
demon
eyes?
guy? Yeah.
Yeah, he looks quite deadly.
Yeah, that's Chernabog. He's Disney's most powerful villain for their movies, anyway.
And then you've got King John from Robin Hood who goes, "Ah, ah," who's got all the army behind him, so he's quite powerful.
Yeah, obviously, like Robin Hood's one we'll probably do another day.
Oh yeah, that's an underrated one. I don't get why the bloody whole fair on the Disney lists online. They always put it low on the list, but I think it's a banger film. I love it, man.
Yeah,
great film.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a solid one. But anyway, so Frollo has a thing against gypsies, and more or less he wants to rid the world of them.
Yeah.
As he believes they're the source of people's corruption and leading people to sin.
Yeah, which is pretty bizarre. But
so So he's captured these 3 gypsies that were trying to sneak into Paris, and and he sees that one of them has something that's wrapped up in a cloth. Assuming it's stolen goods, he orders his men to take it from her. So she runs, which leads to Frollo to chase her down on his horse.
She does a smart thing and bangs on the cathedral saying, "Sanctuary, please give us sanctuary." And then he says, "No, you silly woman," and kicks her in the face. And then she bangs her head, which is pretty dark, really. Usually people get thrown off a cliff or bloody fall off a tree.
He grabs the thing wrapped in cloth, and while she tries to take it back from him, he kicks her in the head, and her head smacks off the steps to the church.
That is a bloody brutal death, man. For a Disney film.
Then he hears the baby crying, and she's like, "A baby?" Looks at it. Obviously, he sees something that is half
a monster.
A monster. A monster.
And then the archdeacon says, "Stop!"
Oh, I know. Not yet. We're getting there. So, looking around, he spots a well and is basically prepared to drown the child. Which, I mean, we're 4 minutes in and the movie's already at baby drowning. Let's go.
Horrible. Crazy. This is an unholy demon. I'm sending it back to hell where it belongs.
Yeah, the deacon shows up at that point.
I'm guiltless. She ran. I pursued.
Now you would,
Now would you add the child's blood to your guilt on the steps
of Notre Dame? My conscience is clear. Now we have probably one of my favorite moments of the song is you can lie to yourself and your minions. You can claim that you haven't done wrong, but you cannot run from nor hide what you've done from the eyes of Notre Dame. As literally every statue in the place is glaring at him, basically.
Yeah. And he finally cracks.
Yeah, and what I like about this bit, and I think I told you this on Discord, but if you look, the statue he's most afraid of is the one of the Virgin Mary holding her baby.
Yeah.
Which, again, considering he's holding Quasimodo and just killed Quasi's mom on the steps of the church.
Crazy, isn't it? So
yeah, I think another way I've heard this scene be described, and this is how this scene is read out in the stage play for Hunchback.
Mm-hmm.
The saints regarded Frollo from their stone facade, and he felt their gaze as if it was the eyes of God.
Yeah,
which is basically what happens. He, as the movie puts it, for the first time in his life, he felt fear for his immortal soul and the threat of damnation. Yeah. So asking the Archdeacon what he must do to be forgiven, the Archdeacon tells him he must care for the child and raise it as his own.
But it's pretty funny though, because he's like, all right, but it has to live with you in the church. He's like, what, me?
I do like they're both just pawning the baby off on each other.
Anyway, just so he's locked away where no one else can see, the bell tower perhaps. And who knows, our Lord works in mysterious ways. Even this foul creature could be of use to me. And I love how he says, even though he was scared by the Virgin Mary holding baby Jesus, I love how he says, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Not the baby's will be used to the Lord and do something good with his life, used to him, Frollo. So it's like Frollo sort of sees himself as the one who's meant to benefit from other people's actions.
Yeah, Even this foul creature may yet prove one day to be of use to me. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he sees it as a means to. He sees it Quasimodo as a means to an end. Still, like something that will benefit him in the future.
Yeah.
And then we have like, so obviously Frollo gives the Hunchback the name Quasimodo, which means half formed. So
Yeah.
pretty fucking cruel name, but okay.
Very true.
Yeah. And then we get another one of my favorite lines. Here is a riddle to guess if you can. Sing the bells of Notre Dame. Who is the monster and who is the man?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines there. Because
So then Quasimodo is an adult. Well, he's 20 years old, and he's like, "Good morning. Will this be the day you fly? You ready to fly?" To this little bird. You know, the bird who's been there with him for a bit of time gets to fly and be free, but obviously Quasi's still stuck in the in Notre Dame, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then, of course, after the bird takes flight with some encouragement from Quasimodo, which I think the scene with the bird there is to show his good heart.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
a big thing of the movie is
Quasimodo
looks like a monster on the outside, but
look at what this cheeky sod has said. James will be playing the live action Quasimodo.
Oh, I saw that.
What a cheeky sod, GC. Come on, mate. I'm a bit more. Well, I wish I could say I looked a bit more like Phoebus. But yeah,
you got a way to go to get to Phoebus.
Yeah, I'll have to grow my hair, shave most of the beard off.
Yeah,
dye blonde.
A big theme of the movie is Quasi on the outside looks like a monster, but inside he has a heart of gold. He's a good guy. Frollo looks like a man, but on the inside he is more twisted and fucked up than Quasi is on the outside. He is a true monster on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that later.
But yeah, so Quasi gets the bird going, and then the
fucking gargoyles.
Hugo played by Gargoyles played. Hugo's played by George Costanza. Oh man! Yep. But I don't know. Oh, Jason Alexander, his real name is. Oh man! I thought he'd never leave. I'll be spinning feathers for a week.
That's what you get for sleeping with your mouth open. Go scare a nun. But yeah, so we're just gonna rip the band-aid off now. The gargoyles are the weakest part of this movie. Let's be real.
Yeah,
but they're clearly there for the children's benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The gargoyles' original role in the story was slightly different, but Disney had to change it because it was a bit too dark.
Yeah.
So originally, the gargoyles' role in the story was to represent Quasimodo's loneliness. Because if you look throughout the movie, no one else sees them moving. They only move when Quasi is alone, and as soon as someone else is on the scene, they're back to stone. And that's because they were supposed to represent Quasimodo's loneliness and isolation. They're like an imaginary friend he's made so he can have someone to talk to. But the reason I say, originally that was the role they were supposed to play, but the directives thought that was a bit too dark for the story, and so during the final climax of the movie, they make the gargoyles help out, proving that nope, they're real. And I can understand, I guess, that you need that element for kids, because but I feel like it definitely would have been better if the gargoyles were just kept as that, just a representation of his loneliness.
Yeah, that would have been far better, to be honest. It would have been a lot more. It probably would have been a lot more deeper, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It would have been damn, they didn't actually fully exist, but they were just all in his head, and that he needed them when he was alone, had no one to talk to because he'd been isolated so long and had no real friends and real people in his life who actually care about him. So this is pretty deep, and now he doesn't need the gargoyles anymore, so they're not real.
Yep. You could have had a pretty good goodbye scene as well after the final climax, them be you don't need us anymore, you've got people now. You know what I mean? They could have done something like that, but nah. But yeah. So the gargoyles are hyping Quasi up to ask to go to the Feast of Fools, a thing he wants to go to, because it happens outside the church every year and he has to watch it. but he can't like go because Frollo has basically been gaslighting the fuck out of him since childhood. That he is deformed and ugly, and the world would hate him for it. Which, to be fair, Frollo may not be wrong given what people are like today.
Yeah, and I mean, even back then, they were pretty nasty to him, really.
Yeah. But, yes, so, because he's, like, psyching himself up, it's like, yes, I'll march down those stairs, and then Frollo shows up, and Quasi immediately retracts back into his shy shell, like, straight away. And then we get some prime example of Frollo's gaslighting and manipulation coming into play here. With this scene with Quasi, it's like, dear boy, whoever were you talking to? My friends, I see. Your friends are made of stone, master. Can stone talk? No, good boy. You're a smart lad. Now, lunch. Yeah, and Quasimodo has to use like a little wooden cup and a very small wooden bowl, while Frollo has like a proper like silver plate and chalice.
Yeah.
To show that even there, like he's making it seem like he's like the. In fact, he basically like he even says like he raised Quasimodo as his son in like one of the bits, and yet Quasi calls him master, not like father or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So already he's put it in Quasi's head that Quasimodo is like beneath him.
Yeah, true. The alphabet scene's pretty funny.
Yeah, the alphabet scene's pretty
alphabet
good.
today. Yes, I would like that very much. Very well.
A, abomination.
Abomination.
B, blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
C, contrition. E, D, damnation. E, eternal damnation.
Good. F, festival.
Festival.
And then he goes mad at him.
Yeah. So you are thinking of going to the festival.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you go every year, Master. I am a public official. I must attend. But I don't enjoy it for a moment.
And then Frollo breaks into song going, the world is cruel, the world is wicked. It's I alone who you can trust in this whole city. I am your only
You are
friend.
deformed. You are ugly. And these are crimes of which the world shows little pity.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a cool
the entire song is just showing how deep Frollo's like manipulation and gaslighting of Quasi truly has gotten.
Mm-hmm.
The point like where he's truly convinced Quasimodo that like the world would like hates him for just existing, and Frollo is the only person he can trust.
But then once Frollo leaves, Quasi goes on a big singing.
He sings about how one day he'll leave the church and go out there.
Yeah. Just one day, then I can swear I'll be content with my share. It was pretty wholesome. It's not the best song going, but it was pretty nice.
It's not the best song, but he sings it with such heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then we get a scene properly introducing Esmeralda. And we get a guard voiced by Patrick Starr, which is pretty funny. One of the guards is voiced by him. Well, Patrick Starr's voice actor. And Phoebus comes in, this other person, Phoebus, and he's like, all right then, what's going on here? And then they're like, Patrick Starr's like, well, she's a gypsy, so we need to lock her up. And he's like, oh, well, okay. And then he goes, Achilles, sit. And Achilles sits on one of the guards. And Patrick Starr goes, I'll show you, you silly tit. And then he goes, oh, Lieutenant. And he goes, oh, Captain, hello. And then you realise, oh, cool, this bloke's the captain. And then you see that he's working with Frollo. And you see what Frollo's doing to someone. He's being whipped. And he's like, yes, wait a bit while you whip. Otherwise, he'll get used to you whipping him too much. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like, ease up, wait between lashes. Otherwise, the pain from the new one will regard it it's like the pain from the old one will like dumb the one from the new one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it's hinted that the guy Fro's whipping there was the former captain of the guard.
Yeah, he said, my previous captain let me down, thank you. Not very good.
Yeah, it's like, my previous captain was a bit of a disappointment, followed by the lash and like the scream. So it's heavily implied that's the previous captain of the guard that's being whipped.
Yeah, most probably.
Yeah. And then Fro's like, Paris is facing like an epidemic unlike ever before. Gypsies. It's like, this guy's obsession thinking with gypsies is kind of insane.
Yeah, he's really just a bloody strange bloke.
Yeah.
Very, very strange guy.
Yeah. And of
And
course,
then
while
after that,
this whole scene, so he says, I think for like, they're just like he's been like slowly battling the gypsies and like capturing groups of them, but he needs to find like the like court of miracles, basically as he refers to it, like much like how he sees the gypsies as like vermin, he refers to the court of miracle as their nest where they keep coming from.
yeah, that's true.
And also to drive this point home, he lifts up one of the tiles from like the wall to reveal like a nest of what I assume like various insects like ants and spiders.
Then he crushes it.
Yeah, to make his point of what they should do.
Yeah. But then we get the festival of fools, or the feast of fools, and
Yep,
all that jazz.
and we get in, and we technically already met Esmeralda at this point very briefly, but this is where we get like our proper introduction to Esmeralda as well. So the Feast of Fools is basically a day like where it's basically just a day for fun and so on. And Quasi sneaks down there like in his cloak and is like in trying to, because everyone's like wearing masks and like being silly that everyone just thinks it's a mask he's wearing rather than that being his actual face,
Yeah.
which allows him to like slip in and and be among them. And eventually they get to the point where they're doing the King of Fools, which is like the main honor of the feast. Basically, they like everyone, like a bunch of people get pulled on stage, have their mask taken off and have to make like a silly face.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the one whose face is the most hideous gets crowned like the king.
Yeah.
And obviously Quasi gets pulled up there and they realize, oh, it's not a mask, that's his actual face.
Yeah.
But initially he's kind of accepted there because it's like, we asked for the ugliest face in all of Paris, and here it is.
Yeah, exactly. He's the king of the Fools
Yeah,
Festival.
and then a guard throws so he's being celebrated in that as like the King of Fools, and then a guard throws a tomato at him, which then gets the crowd laughing, mostly because they're all drunk out of their minds, and so other people start throwing shit at him.
Yeah.
And to be fair, this scene actually is pretty rough to watch. Like, he tries to like flee, so they tie him to like a thing of rope,
Mm-hmm.
and they like spin it while everyone is throwing shit at him and laughing.
Yeah.
And Frollo is letting this happen and is just watching it.
Yeah.
And even like Phoebus like, sir, permission to stop this cruelty. He's like, in a moment, Captain, a lesson needs to be learned here.
Yeah. Well said that.
Yeah. And eventually it does stop when Esmeralda goes up, because she's the one that pulled him on stage originally. She like when she goes up, it does stop, and she like apologizes to him that if she'd known this was going to happen, she wouldn't have brought him onto that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we get like one of the main things. Like, in Quasi's eyes, Esmeralda is the only person who's really shown him any kind of kindness, considering we know the extent of Frollo's kindness is turbo gaslighting and manipulation.
Yeah.
So in Quasi's eye, so this is actually important for like, there's a reason, like, I'll go into this stuff later, obviously, but I need to make sure I stay on track of the actual story for now. So in Quasi's eyes, Esmeralda is kind of like an angel to a degree, and that's actually important for where we're going here. So like, she unties him, and like Frollo tells her to get down from the thing, and she says she will once she's freed this poor creature. And and Frollo being Frollo is like, I forbid it.
Yeah.
She goes, it seems we crowned the wrong king, because the only fool I see here is you. And she like basically calls Frollo out on all of his like bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, so he orders his guards to try and capture her.
Yeah.
She manages to escape, and Frollo, like angry, kind of like points his anger at Quasi, and Quasi just like retracts back into like the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. At which point Esmeralda also sneaks into the church, like using the her pet goat as part of her disguise to make it look like an old man.
Yeah.
Phoebus notices her and goes into the church to speak to her. and they have like a very brief like exchange because she thinks he's there to capture her when he just wants to talk.
Hmm.
And then Frollo bursts into the church like, Captain, like, good work, you found her. He's like, sorry, sir, she claimed sanctuary. There's nothing we can do. Because I think the whole idea is like, if a person claims sanctuary, Frollo can't touch them whilst they're in the church.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get probably one of Frollo's first of many creepy scenes. Whilst like everyone's back is turned, he restrains Esmeralda and just tells her like that she's gypsy vermin, and the moment she steps outside the church, she's his. Followed by him then sniffing her hair,
Yeah.
which is the first of like many creepy scenes of this character.
Yeah, he's a crazy horny bloke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool the back and forth that Phoebus and her have when they're fighting each other. He's like, "You fight pretty well for a woman," and then she said, "Oh, I was going to say the same to you."
Yeah, it's like that's hitting a little low below the belt, isn't it? No, this is. She tries to like nut shot him.
Yeah, pretty wholesome scene.
Yeah, it's like it is actually a really funny back and forth.
And then Quasi helps her escape, and she sings a little song where she goes on about, she wants to help like the gypsies like do better.
She even offers Quasi to come with her, but he can't because again, Frollo's clutches and hooks are just too deep into him.
Yeah, he still sort of thinks, "Oh well, he's my master. He's done everything for me."
Yeah, and also the outside did just kind of traumatize him a second ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a surprise that he doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting how Quasi's like, "Oh, you're nice for a gypsy," and then she's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, well, my master tells me all the gypsies are horrible," and she's like, "Well, how could such a nice guy? Sorry, how could such an evil guy raise someone as cool as you?"
Yeah, it just shows like the level of like master manipulation he's got going on here.
Yeah.
So Quasi helps Esmeralda escape by climbing down the outside of the church, because Frollo has basically surrounded the church with guards, so she can't get out normally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to parkour all over the place.
And then Phoebus makes his way up, hoping to have seen Esmeralda, but obviously she was gone by that point. So he asks Quasimodo to give her a message for him next time he sees her.
Yeah.
And then
and Quasi's pretty pissed off at first. He's like, "Go away, go away."
He thinks Phoebus is just another guard, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Quasimodo is ridiculously strong, but to be fair, if you've had to grow up your life ringing those bells, you would.
Yeah, if you've been doing it since you're a young kid and you're going...
Yeah, you would be jacked beyond belief.
He's bloody ridiculously strong, you know?
He is, yeah. And then we finally get to Disney's best villain song, Hellfire.
Hellfire! Dark fire!
So there is so much to analyze of this fucking song.
Yeah, when he's going, "This fire under my skin, the burning desire, it's turning me to sin. It's not my fault, I'm not to blame. It is the gypsy girl, the witch who set this flame."
Yeah. So the song is basically Frollo more or less singing how he desires Esmeralda, and she's turning him to sin because of his lust.
Yeah.
But instead of taking any accountability for it, he pushes all accountability on her.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And one of the things I do like about the song is, in a way, Frollo portrays all 7 sins in that song in some way or shape or form.
Yeah, there's greed, gluttony, lust,
I think
pride, anger.
Pride, wrath, envy, gluttony, sloth, lust, and greed.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and he shows all of those in that song. As like, all the while he's like singing how he's a righteous man of God, and like the gypsy is evil and like a witch casting a spell.
Yeah.
Also, like, again, there's so much to fucking analyze with this song.
Choose me or your prior, be mine or you will burn.
Yeah. And then we have the bit where the guard comes in halfway through the song, and I'm just going to quickly analyze this scene real quick.
Yeah.
So like basically he said to like God to like give him a size, like make Esmeralda his, or let her be gone. And then at which point the guard comes in, letting some light into like the dark room, and we don't see the guard's face. The light's like behind them, almost like a like nameless angel sent by God, telling
Yeah.
him that Esmeralda has escaped the church, kind of as like God's way of saying like giving Furlough one last chance to like turn away from this path he's about to go on.
Yeah.
Because like it's a nameless guard with like the light illuminating behind them, and it happens just after Furlough says like make Esmeralda his or let her like burn.
Yeah.
But Furlough, instead of accepting this and like moving on and turning away from this path, digs his heels in deeper and basically like declares that she will be his or she will burn.
Yeah, scary, horrible stuff.
And
There.
another cool thing about that scene is when he's asking for like help or like a sign, he's not looking at the cross above the fireplace. He's looking into the fire.
Yeah.
So he is literally asking for aid from hell without realizing it.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was goated. That song, absolutely amazing.
It
Couldn't have said it
really
better
is.
myself.
It
Can't
is
really.
such a good song. And it's definitely Disney's best villain song.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, I like all the things that he sees, all those red hooded individuals, and
Yeah,
all the
the
mad stuff that's
judges.
going on inside his head. Even though he accuses everyone else of being sinful and crappy, and how he's right and righteous, in his head he's a bit messed up, and he's got issues just like everyone else has. But obviously, he tries to hide it.
Yeah.
In certain
Also,
ways.
funny. So I don't remember what language the hooded figures are saying they're chanting, but I think they're saying either "your fault" or "my fault" each time.
Yeah,
Which, if you think about the fact they chant that after he says any of his excuses, is very interesting. Because it shows, like, again, Frollo like refusing to accept his own blame in the matter.
yeah. I might look it up. In Hellfire, they're with a Latin chant meaning my fault. My
Okay, I
most
knew it was
grievous,
one of the two. I just couldn't
yeah,
quite remember
grievous
which.
fault.
If it was my fault or your fault.
I was wondering if they would have said it in Hebrew, but fair enough.
Yeah, but to be fair, a lot of movies will use like Latin for like chants like that.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of games do as well. It just
Mhm.
seems like it fits the like as like the right language for like ancient text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that song was legendary. And then the captain's like, "Oh, you look really tired." So he's like, "Oh, yes,
So I had a
trouble,
bit of
trouble with the
trouble with
fireplace."
fireplace. It's like, what are your orders? Find the gypsy girl. At which point we get a montage of Furlough having his guards break into people's houses, capture like gypsies they're harboring or holding, and then trying to bribe the gypsies to give up Esmeralda. And
Yeah.
when they refuse, he has them locked up and tortured.
Mm-hmm.
And
Scary.
eventually, it gets to one point where he's like, "Are you?" Like, he gets to one family, and he's like, "Are you harboring any gypsies?" And they're like, "Our home has always been open to the weary traveler." He hasn't found any gypsies in their home or even checked it. He just asks them, and they said their home has always been open for the weary traveler.
So it could be anyone, could it? It could be
Yeah.
like standard travelers. It could be someone who
Yep.
needs a place to stay a few
So what he
days.
does is, as him and his guards leave the house, he blocks the door and then sets the building on fire with the family inside.
Yeah, pure evil, crazy.
Yeah. So Phoebus, being an actual Chad, breaks into the house through the barricade door to get the family out. At which point Furlough declares him a traitor and has him shot with arrows by his other guards.
Yeah,
With Phoebus like basically falls into like the river where they assume he's dead. But he is actually fished out by Esmeralda, who saw the whole thing happen. At which point we just see it cuts to Quasi watching from Notre Dame, and you just see Paris burning, which means Frollo is just on a fucking pyre streak. Like, he is burning down all of Paris here.
yeah. He's incredibly desperate for that
Yeah, and-
Court of Dreams or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the Court of Miracles. And the thing is, you could very like Phoebus wasn't there to get people out of every one of those houses because obviously after the first one he got shot. So
Yeah, he
odds
was
are
recovering.
people were dying in those fires. A lot of
Yeah,
them.
terrifying.
Yeah, but Esmeralda, like so Quasi is um, concerned as this fire's happening. No, there's no sign of Esmeralda. Everything's just getting worse. And then the gargoyles try and sing him a song about how Esmeralda likes him.
Yeah,
Though, to be honest, Esmeralda's relationship with Quasi is more like a mother-son one. If
yeah,
you
or
with,
sister
with the
brother.
way she looks, with the way she treats him.
Yeah, but Quasi probably got the wrong idea because he's never interacted with anyone properly
Yeah,
apart from
and this goes
Frollo.
to another one like the themes here, and I'll mention. So to Quasi, she's like an angel and a mother. To Frollo, she is a witch and a sex object for him. Right. The reason she gets with Phoebus is because he's the only one that sees her for who she actually is, just a person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
so
good way of looking at it. I never looked at it like that before. To
yeah,
be honest with you.
that's why she doesn't get with Quasi because he sees her more like because yeah, it's just the way it's looked at. Listen, this movie has a lot to it that there is to like and love.
Yeah,
So after the Gargoyles song, Esmeralda and Phoebus come in, and Phoebus is obviously hurt because he got shot by an arrow.
mm.
So Quasi gives them a shelter to stay. At which point, as he accidentally sees Esmeralda and Phoebus kiss, and this breaks Quasi's heart because remember the Gargoyles just put it in his head that she liked him.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then Frollo arrives, having figured out that Quasi helped Esmeralda escape, and he starts playing really coy to not let Quasi realize he's caught on.
mm.
Eventually, though, he just kind of loses his temper and just goes off on Quasi. It's like, you helped her escape, and now all of Paris is burning because of you. Basically, instead of taking any accountability for his own actions, Frollo puts all of it on Quasimodo.
Yeah,
That, Paris is burning because of him. But he also does this as kind of a thing to scare Quasi. It's like, oh, but don't worry, we found where the gypsy girl is, and by morning, I'll attack with 1,000 men. Basically, he's trying to, scare Quasi into messing up.
hmm
Because he knows that Quasi helped her and probably knows where the Court of Miracle is now. He just has to wait. Which, again,
yeah.
shows that Frollo is actually a really smart villain.
He lets Quasi lead him right there, right to
Yeah.
it, and then he's like, "I knew you'd be of some use to me someday."
Yeah, so
Lie.
Phoebus and Quasi use a medallion that Esmeralda gave him when he helped her escape the first time, trying to decipher what it is, and eventually figure out it's a map to the Court of Miracles.
Yeah,
It's a map of the city, so in case Quasi ever wanted to leave, he could find the Court of Miracles and get away.
hmm
So they eventually get there and find the entrance to the Court of Miracles, where they get ambushed by a bunch of the gypsies,
hmm
including Clotho, the jester, who's leading them.
yeah,
And they originally get set up to be hung because, this is Frollo's captain of the guard and his bell ringing henchman. But Esmeralda stops the execution
yeah,
that they're about to have, revealing that they're actually allies. Phoebus saved the family and Quasi saved her. Which I love. Comes up. Why didn't they say so? It's we did say so. So they warn the gypsies that Frollo is going to attack at dawn with 1,000 men. And they realize that no, Frollo's attacking now with 1,000 men because they just led him right to them
yeah,
unknowingly. And again, as expected, Frollo puts all the blame of that on Quasi to
yeah.
make Quasi feel even worse about it.
Complete manipulator.
Yeah. And then he has Quasi imprisoned back in the church, where he's basically chained up in there, as he's about to basically burn Esmeralda at the stake, basically.
Yeah. But
Where
he
he
gives
does
her
his
that one last.
usual creepy thing of saying to her, I can save you from the fires of this world and the next. Choose me or the fire. She spits on him. He's like he like announced to the crowd the gypsy Esmeralda has refused to repent, and then lights like the fire under like the thing.
Yeah.
Which, in fact, that's a pretty brutal way to die.
Yeah,
That he's
being
trying
burned.
to do here. And we have one scene with the goggles trying to like encourage Quasi. It's like you're strong enough to break these chains, and these chains aren't what holding you back. Which when he tells them to leave him alone, it's like, after all, we're just made of stone. We just assumed you were made of something stronger.
That's a pretty badass line.
It was,
Pretty
yeah,
tough.
and then they turn back. So, see, this is why I feel like they should have kept the goggles as just a thing in his head. Is like they're because this scene here is what makes him finally like get past Frollo's like manipulation and decide to actually help Esmeralda.
Yeah.
So Quasi breaks 3 of his binds, and as he does, like all the bells of Notre Dame begin to ring because he's like shaking like the pillars and that he's chained to, which which is again makes the bells like toll, which like almost like Notre Dame is like cheering him on as well. And Quasi like using a bit of rope manages to swing down to where Esmeralda's about to be burned.
Oh yeah, and he rescues her, then gets back up there, and then Frollo just thinks, "Oh man, forget all these rules now. I'm just going to storm the cathedral.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore."
He has his men storm and try and break down the cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Phoebus like rallies the townspeople. It's like Frollo has set our town on fire, laid waste to our homes, and attacked our people, and now he's attacking the church itself here. So everyone else, obviously having had a fucking enough of Frollo's bollocks, decide to like ride together and like fight against him. All the while, like Quasi like is doing shit from the top of the church, like he's dropping shit on Frollo's guards trying to climb up. And eventually, even pours down some kind of like hot liquid stuff.
Yeah, which
kind of
makes
looks like magma, but I don't think it actually is magma. But you know what I mean. But yeah, so that chases off most of Frollo's guards, but Frollo himself gets in the church. And the deacon tries to stop him, but he just kind of like throws him down the stairs. It's like you're not gonna get in the way this time. I'm gonna finish what I intended to do before. Yeah. And so at this point, Quasi thinks Esmeralda is dead as well, because she's unconscious from the fumes of the fire and she hasn't woken up yet.
Yeah, and Esmeralda's about to Frollo then ends up being about to kill him, and I think, bloody hell, this is bloody.
Yeah, Frollo tries to stab him in the back, but Quasi notices the shadow and like manages to overpower Frollo.
Yeah.
Because you see him struggle at first because this is his master, but then like he overcomes that and it overpowers Frollo. Then Quasi does his usual Frollo's like tries to do his usual manipulation of like, now Quasimodo, listen to me. And Quasi hits her with, no, you listen. All my life you've told me the world is a dark, cruel place. But now I see the only thing dark and cruel about it are people like you. Which again is a fucking hard-ass line. Around this point, Esmeralda starts to wake up. Which Frollo immediately goes back into kill mode. It's like she's alive.
Yeah.
So they try and they try to escape and avoid Frollo by hanging off the edge of the church, but Frollo finds them there. And like as he's trying to like strike them with his sword and missing, he eventually trips and is like hanging on. So you got Quasi holding on to like the side of the wall. He has Esmeralda hanging on his like shoulder, and he's got like Frollo in his other hand. And Frollo like uses that to swing himself up to one of the side gargoyles that are like hanging around the side of the church. And his face is fucking lit up like a fucking demon's here, as he's like pulling himself up, and talking to himself about how he's gonna like smite the wicked and like plunge them into like the fiery depths.
Yeah.
By this point, the thing he's standing on like cracks, and he like falls, grabbing onto it. As the gargoyle thing he's holding onto like comes to life, like kind of like roars at him as it breaks off, and Frollo is like falls down into like the burning pool of magma that's down below, kind of symbolizing his literal descent into hell there. As you could argue the gargoyle, which looked very devilish, you could argue it's like the Satan like taking into hell now as well. Because again, this movie has symbolism everywhere.
Yeah.
If you just gotta like notice it or know where to look.
But that was a pretty cool climax, and I like how in the end Quasi puts Phoebus' hand and Esmeralda's hand on each other, and then they both encourage him to go outside, and the people accept him and think, man, this bloke's a good guy, and we realise all he really needed was to just be accepted by society, and then obviously he does get a misses in the sequel, but the sequel's rubbish. But the most important thing in this film is that he gets accepted by society.
The sequel is Disney's classic direct-to-DVD sequel to try and like cash in money, but like not actually care anything about the original story being told.
Yeah, it's given an abysmal rating, this film. Very bad.
But the original Hunchback is fucking phenomenal, and if you haven't seen this movie, definitely watch it. Like, and again, Frollo is Disney's darkest and most evil villain because he's Disney's most human villain. Because with Hades, like, oh yeah, sure, he's just like he's a god. With Chernobog, he's literally the devil. With Scar, it's a flamboyant lion. But with Frollo, there are legit people like him in the world.
People who manipulate and lie and just try and
people who manipulate, lie, will use any means to an end to get their own devices. Like think their way of like their views and way of thinking are like the best. Will treat God like will use the word of God to justify horrendous shit, and act like they know God's will.
Yeah, there are some mad people out there.
Yeah, a good saying that sums up Frollo is, "Be wary of the person who thinks they know God's mind more than God themselves, and beware someone who can't separate God's will from their own."
Yeah, because Frollo was clearly just trying to benefit himself the whole time, rather than benefiting other people. Or
Frollo constantly acts like he's doing God's work, but he's not.
Yeah, the thing is, he'd realise that he just like everyone else is a sinner and has messed up and needs to repent, but instead he just thinks he's the best and he hasn't got many issues.
He thinks he's the word of God.
Yeah, and he thinks everyone else is rubbish. You know, it's interesting how you've got the Archdeacon, who seems like a proper follower of Christ, and then you've got Frollo, who's just like a joker, who's just horrible. You know, who just uses the Bible just to get his way and say what he wants and do what he wants and say, "Oh, I'm good though because I'm righteous and I can do what I want and screw you all." You know? Yeah,
basically. Like Frollo hurts so many characters in this movie. He has a massive body count in this film when you think about all the people,
especially with the house burning
and the house burning. Yeah,
crazy bloke.
Yeah, but also it to a level you could argue it's like narcissism as well, because like the guy actively refuses to take any accountability for anything bad he does throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and he was about to he's about to kill a baby at the start of the film, chuck it down a well.
Literally, he's ready to drown a baby in like the well until the Archdeacon stops him.
Yeah, mad bloke. But yeah, he, just like Hercules, is the best part of the film. It's just interesting seeing how he just goes down into like a bloody even more demented mentality, and he's just so evil, and the lengths he'll go to just to, you know, kill
his humanity slowly leaves, and he just becomes more of a monster the longer the film goes on.
Yeah, and then he wants to be with Esmeralda, even though he said loads of nasty things about her. And it's just his lust.
It's entirely lust as well. That's the thing.
Yeah,
there's no genuine attract. Like he doesn't genuinely love Esmeralda. He's lusting for her.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's blaming her for his lust. It's just really confusing. It's just
Yeah,
mad how much of a
which
bizarre bloke he is.
goes to what I said earlier. Is like Quasi sees her as like an angel and like a kind figure. Frollo sees her as a sex object and a
Mhm.
witch
Yeah.
for
But
himself.
I'll just quickly sum up what I think of the film. I've got a couple of topics after we finish discussing this film, but
Yeah,
um, well, one main topic. But anyway, I think that the film is great. I enjoyed it more than I did when I was a kid. The gargles and some of the pacing's a little bit strange. How sometimes it seems childish and other times it seems really adult. But I respect how experimental Disney were with this film, how they go for such a dark story. Because in the real film, Esmeralda was actually 16 and she dies as well, which is crazy. And then Quasimodo goes on a rampage, so it's a lot darker. The book is, but I'm glad they didn't make it that dark. This is more like bittersweet. Like it is. I still think it's bittersweet rather than like a happy ending. Because bro, the
oh yeah,
dude lost his mom and he didn't even really get the full truth. Frollo briefly said, "Oh, like I killed your mother" or something like that, and he's like, "What?"
yeah,
But he doesn't fully get the truth. So I'd say it's bittersweet, but hopefully he makes an all right life for himself in the long run and starts doing okay.
yeah,
But anyway, yeah, sorry. I thought how sometimes it tries to be adult, and sometimes it tries to be childish is a little bit annoying, especially with the
yeah.
gargoyles and some of
Best
the
way you could
decisions.
describe any scene with the gargoyles is movie too scary kids. Here's the gargoyles. Movie too
Yeah,
awesome
exactly.
adults. Look, here's the gargoyles.
Yeah. Overall, I think it's not. It's cool how practical it is. Like it mostly just takes place at the cathedral. I like how they make a big story out of this. I know you go to the Court of Miracles and all that stuff, but it's mostly just by the cathedral or in the cathedral. So I like how
Yeah,
they make it all take place in this one location. They don't have to travel all over the place like they do in a lot of Disney films. Overall, I'd say it's a great film. 8 out of 10. I know some people absolutely love this one, but I just say overall, it's a great film. Definitely one of Disney's better ones. The childish stuff holds it back a bit, but it is what it is. It's a great film. I liked revisiting it, and I enjoyed it a lot more as an adult.
yeah, I agree with I would say 8 or a 9 as well, just because,
Mhm.
as you said, the gargoyles definitely drag it down with like how childish and like they're not funny. They're just doing stupid shit.
Yeah,
But it's obvious why they're there though. That it's something to like for kids to make it easier for them to watch.
yeah, for
And
sure.
I do feel like the fact like they make the gargoyles real during like the final like clash at the church, like because the fact that like during the like whole bit where like Frollo's guards are trying to like raid Notre Dame, the gargoyles are helping fend them off,
Yeah.
which means yep they're real.
Hmm.
I feel again they should have just kept the gargoyles as like just a thing in Quasi's head, and it would have made it a lot better, I think. But also
Yeah, I
just in
agree.
general, gargoyles are really stupid, and they're not really that funny. But like, I guess you need something for like you need something to make the movie easier to watch for the kids, I guess.
Hmm. Um, But yeah, I guess we can, after that interesting discussion about those two films, I guess we can nicely move on to the topic that I wanted to bring up. But I just want to say, hopefully next, whenever, like in 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whenever, it would be cool to do Meet the Robinsons and then book the cook in Chicken Little, having a go at the Chicken Little film. Because
Yeah,
Book the Cook deserves to be dunked on because he's just an
yeah.
absolute
Chicken
buffoon.
Little's dad does like the Chicken Little review is just going to be us entirely dunking on that man,
Yeah,
and rightfully fucking deserved.
yeah. I mean, I know he lost his missus, which is pretty sad, but like, he doesn't give him the right to bloody be horrible to his son and put
Yeah,
so much
the way he
importance.
like the way he treat well just the town in general, the way the town treats Chicken Little is like baffling, but
Yeah,
his dad especially like
yeah. He
his
makes
dad's the
tough
fucking
sense.
president of the I Hate Chicken Little fan club, I swear.
Yeah, exactly. And I know he ends up redeeming himself in the end, but he's just forced garbage. It's just
It
like
it
he
it
has
does
to.
feel it doesn't feel earned
Yeah,
him redeeming himself at the end, yeah.
yeah,
It doesn't feel earned, and it doesn't justify half the shit he does throughout the movie to Chicken Little.
yeah. Very true. But the topic I wanted to, oh yeah, and obviously Meet the Robinsons. As much as I liked a bit when I was a kid, but then I watched reviews of Meet the Robinsons, and then I thought, you know what, the criticisms are quite valid. But then as an adult, even in 2020, I poo-pooed it a bit, but I had a really good thing about it. I thought, you know what, the film's actually pretty damn good. So maybe on my next rewatch of it, I might think it's good fun.
Yeah, I think Meet the Robinsons is a pretty solid film.
Yeah, it's just it's quite moving how like Disney was struggling at the time, and the film is just about, you need to keep moving forward. You want to be more like
Yeah.
Lewis, not like Goob. Bad things are going to happen, but you've just got to do your
Yep.
best to keep moving forward, and that's what
And
Disney have done. Even though Disney have moved forward into a lump of shit, at least they move forward still. They're trying. They're still successful. They make a lot of money. So,
yeah,
but yeah, the topic that I wanted to bring up. I did a podcast yesterday on the reacting to the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. What are your thoughts on the Switch 2 and all the stuff to do with it
so
so
I
far?
haven't called the full direct, but I have heard people talking about the fact they're charging like £80-90 for a game now. And it's like, I do feel like that's a bit greedy to do that. Seeing people
Yeah,
already struggling enough.
yeah, that's a great point. I was going to say though quickly. Oh, sorry, I've just zoned out a second. So yeah, basically, it's not $80 or $90, but it will apparently be 74 quid in English pounds, which is still pretty awful.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna. But the thing is, when I was doing the stream with GC yesterday, he said it hasn't been fully confirmed and that it wasn't true. And I was like, "What? Where did you get that information from?" And he said, "Oh, it's just not true. It's Beat 'em Up's confirmed it." And I went, "Oh, okay." Well, do you reckon it's true or not? Because I'm not sure.
We'll have to wait and see. I think it's too early to really say.
Yeah. I mean,
But
one thing for certain I was going to say quickly is that if they do go through with this, if they do make the game 75 quid or 74 quid, other companies are going to do the same. It won't be 60, 70 quid anymore. It'll be 74 quid or 80 quid.
yeah.
And that'll be scary for people. I'd just advise people to just play the old games instead. Just get a game PC and play a bunch of old games because, like, what's the point of bloody spending loads on bloody random tat?
Yeah.
Well, not random tat. Obviously, Nintendo make good stuff, but you know what I mean. What's the point in spending 74
I
quid on
think
a
the
Mario
reason they can
Kart?
get away with doing it is because Nintendo games can only be played on a Nintendo console, like
Yeah.
unless you want to try and do some emulation stuff.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just giving up on Nintendo altogether. Like, I'd just say, "Oh, just go play PC games or play like Switch or play Wii." But it's
Yeah.
difficult for people in it though. With the Nintendo WoWs, it's probably quite bloody difficult to convince them to not.
To be fair, there are
So,
countless like games that try and replicate the stuff various Nintendo IPs do. Like there are several games that try and do Zelda style, to try and do Mario style, but none of them do it quite as good as Nintendo.
yeah,
So whilst there are like companies out there do try and do like replicants of like Nintendo style games, none of them do it as good as actual Nintendo, and they know that.
fair comment.
Because like it's hard to like completely boycott Nintendo if you grew up with it, because they're the only place where you can play a proper Zelda game or a proper Mario game.
But here's the interesting one, Scott. You know
Yeah.
all the stuff Blizzard have done, right?
Yeah.
If Nintendo did that, would you be able to give up all their games? Because this is a whole new level of brilliance, Nintendo. Imagine if they did what Blizzard did. Do you reckon you'd be able to give it up, or do you reckon it would be?
Well, I don't actually play a lot of Nintendo games nowadays anyway, because obviously their games aren't on PC, and I don't really have the time to do console gaming.
Yeah.
But but I have, by the fact that I boycotted Blizzard for like 3 years before they got their shit together.
Oh, they're
I think
right
I
now.
could. They've gotten better. They've unionized, which means a lot of the workplace harassment that was happening can't occur anymore.
That's pretty good news then.
Because so they're still not like perfect, but they're better than they were.
Yeah. Well,
like they're good enough that I don't have to boycott them anymore.
Yeah, I suppose that's
considering I did that for like 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some pretty good discipline right there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can nicely wrap up this podcast. As always, Scott, thank you for joining. Your time is much appreciated and your input and takes. So, if you've got any final words, fire away.
I don't really have any final words.
Fair enough. I've got nothing else to say as well myself. So
I was tempted to start going hellfire when you said funner words. I was so tempted. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
That would have been brilliant.
That would have been gold, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Or you could have just turned your camera on for the first time and gone hellfire. That would have been.
I could have.
Never mind. Maybe for the Lion King, if we review Lion King down the line, you could. Right, any final words, Scott? Camera off. Camera. It's the circle of life. That would have been pretty goated. Actually, before I go, Lion King will be whenever we get round to that one. That'll definitely be an interesting one because it's a great film, but I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece or Disney's best film. I mean, for me, Disney's.
A lot of people hold a lot of nostalgia for Lion King because it's one of Disney's like first real big major movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I think it does get a bit overhyped by people.
Yeah, I think Scar's again. It's another film where the villains. I think Scar's the best part. Like he's just absolutely next level entertaining.
Yeah,
but he's
Scar carries that. To be fair, you could argue a lot of Disney's like Renaissance era movies are carried by their villains.
Yeah, apart
from
Aladdin,
the best
carried by the genie. And Aladdin's a pretty great character as well.
Yeah. The thing with Aladdin, the genie carries that one because the genie was designed with Robin Williams in mind.
Yeah, he's sick in that one, Robin Williams.
And it's probably why the live action Aladdin didn't quite work with Will Smith as a genie, because that was just the genie. That was just Will Smith playing the genie rather than the genie as Robin Williams.
And you had the whole keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Yeah, the slap.
So that probably didn't help the film. Oh, wait, was that before the slap?
That was after, I think.
But yeah, the problem is that none of these live action films are any good anyway, so I can't be asked to watch them.
It feels like Disney don't realize what people loved about their original, or they're just trying like a lot of the live actions are kind of cash grabs to try and keep the IP. Because with copyright law, you have to do something with the IP every so many years, or you lose it.
Yeah.
So you could argue a lot of live actions are just Disney's way of keeping their IP live.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh yeah, we'll just do something with it very briefly, and now we can keep the IP going for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say as well down the line, Mulan would be a good one. That seems like it needs more attention. It does get a lot of praise, but like
the original animated Mulan, honestly, is one of my favorite Disney movies.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one as a kid. And I haven't watched it as an adult, but I'm imagining that I would still like it a lot.
Yeah, Mulan herself, like the animated one, is a perfect example of how to do a strong like female lead right.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to specify the animated one because obviously Mulan has a live action remake, which is an example of how to do it wrong.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But we'll get there when we talk about the movie.
Yeah, well, I guess we can wrap that up there then.
Yep.
Thank you all for watching. Take care. Have a good one. See you later.
Bye.